Hey all, this week I have the opportunity to drive the Honda Prologue, which is a new electric vehicle from Honda. And as you may know, this is built on the same platform as the Chevrolet Blazer. So a lot of the tech that you're going to see in here is going to be very un-Honda-like. So what I wanted to do in this video is just a quick tech check and show you some of the features that you will have on this vehicle, because if you're familiar with Honda, you may not be familiar with some of these features. So I'm going to start up in my apartment and we're going to talk about remote start, and we're going to go down into my garage and I'm going to show you something else that I really liked because it's kind of dark in there and you can see it better. And then we're going to come back here and we're going to sit in the driver's seat and I'm going to show you what I see as the driver. So let's take a closer look at this week's car du jour, the Honda Prologue.
Now, one of the tech features I want to talk about is remote start. Because I do not have access to the app feature as most owners would. As a reviewer, this is just a 1-week test period, I've been using the key fob to do remote start. So the idea is you make sure the vehicle is locked. And I'm going to point out my vehicle is in the garage right there. And then you hit there's like a little circular button, the remote start button, twice. Do a little press and hold to make sure it took. And yeah, it's been cold lately. And so I've been using that while the vehicle is plugged in my garage to pre-warm it so it's warm when I get into the vehicle. All right, so as you come into the garage, you can see that the vehicle is on. And then when I open the door, and yeah, it's plugged in. So you unlock it, and then when you open the door, you can see that the heated seats are on and the air is blowing, so the vehicle is pre-warmed when it's cold outside. I really like that feature. Now, if you had the app, you would be able to use your app, and you could start it from your bed if you wanted to. But because I do not have the app, I use the key for remote start and just aimed it at the car and yeah, turned it on. So I really, really like that tech feature. Pre-warming an electric vehicle in the winter, totally key. While we are in my garage and it is a little bit dark, I will also show you one more tech feature before we move into the interior, and that is going to be this right here. That dot shows you where you should kick to open the rear liftgate. You literally just kind of kick your foot under there and the rear hatch will open. And the really cool thing is when you just kick under there again, the rear hatch will also close. So I appreciate the fact that the kick activated liftgate opens and closes that rear hatch. Now, one thing I will point out is that after you have remote started the vehicle, you do actually need to turn it on. It is not on. The air is working, the heated seats are on, but you do have to hit the button to power the vehicle on. Now that we are sitting behind the wheel of the Honda Prologue, I just want to check out some of the technology that you have available to you, because if you are a General Motors owner, some of it's going to look pretty familiar to you. If you're a Honda owner, yeah, it may not look familiar. And I find that very fascinating, but such is the world we live in right now with the collaborations that we have between automakers. So first off, this right here is going to be the biggest thing that you will see on the Honda vehicle that you will not see on the Chevrolet Blazer, and that is Apple CarPlay, and it is wireless. Chevrolet and General Motors have decided to do away with Apple CarPlay in their electric vehicles. I have a video on that, so be sure to check out the link above if you want to learn more about that. But Honda, even though it's built on the platform, still has Apple CarPlay. And frankly, I think that's one of the best things about this vehicle, is it still has Apple CarPlay. I am an Apple CarPlay devotee, and yeah, I use it all the time, and I really like Apple Maps. So as it is set up in this vehicle, you have the ability to show your instructions or your directions in the behind the wheel cluster, and I appreciate that. That is a very Honda thing, and it works pretty well. So I've appreciated that during the test week. But something that is very General Motors like is this wireless charger that you have right here. It slots your phone in, and I'm going to tell you, This right here is actually really cold, and it keeps your phone at a nice cool temperature while it is in here charging. I have a beef with a lot of phone chargers because very often you'll put your phone in here and it will heat up your phone. But General Motors, I have long said, has some of the best wireless phone chargers in the business because they put a fan or a cool pad or something in here that keeps your phone cool. So Honda, even though it has Apple CarPlay, did adopt the General Motors wireless charger. Now, let's just take a quick look at what is going on behind the wheel because you have a full digital cluster back here. And you have the ability to change things up a little bit so you can show your Apple Map back here. And I had set up to go to an Electrify America station because I actually don't need to charge, but I didn't know what else to put in there. So that is the closest Electrify America station to me. And it shows the overview and the directions. And then, you can go to a more traditional gauge cluster. But I like the fact that you have some differing options through here to check out in terms of how you set this up. So, and that's really kind of cool. I like that it still has your speedometer kind of overlaid over the map. I don't know. I like this. I like this implementation. I think it looks really good. Moving over to this display here, this is going to look very General Motors-ish. So General Motors is really good about keeping a standard menu to the left so that you can go between Apple CarPlay and the regular native system. Honda has not been good at doing that. Plus, I've always felt that the Honda graphics were a little bit outdated. These are definitely General Motors graphics, and I like how these look. You can see you also have Android Auto as an available feature, even though this does use the Google built-in system. So I don't know. So you've got your Google Maps here, which again will appear similar to the Google Maps that you have in your Apple CarPlay. And I I don't know. I'm very frustrated with the fact that General Motors has taken Apple CarPlay out of the vehicles, in case you missed it. Why not both? You can do both. You can do both. So the other thing that I want to point to here is the fact that this does have one pedal driving, and you have the ability to set how the one pedal driving will be. I keep it on high. I like the high regeneration of the one pedal driving. So essentially what that means is you use only your accelerator pedal to control your speed and your braking. And so like you press down to go, and then as you lift off, it starts to brake. If you're not used to it, if you don't like it, you can turn it completely off. Or you can have some normal regeneration where it will allow you to use a more aggressive regeneration, but it's not as firmly, it won't bring you to a complete stop. So I like the fact that you can adjust how this works in your screen. And like I said, I've been keeping it on high. Now, this could be a point of controversy here. I was driving one night, and Hondas are notoriously, their gauges and clusters and things are notoriously bright, even when you have your lights off. So I was heading home, and it was dark outside, and I was like, ooh, are my headlights on? And I immediately went over here and then was looking on here for my headlight controls. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is built on a General Motors platform. I wonder, and it has a lot of General Motors electronics, I wonder if the light adjustments are in the screen like they are in some of the new General Motors vehicles. And yep, there it is right there. So it will default to auto on all the time, but if you want to turn them off, you can turn them off. But every time you turn the vehicle off, it will automatically go to your default to your automatically on. And then, yeah, if you want to use your brights, you can also use your wand here. And so I don't know. That was kind of an unexpected thing that was transferred into this vehicle. And that is the fact that your lights are through the screen. And that is, like I said, very distinctly General Motors thing because their vehicles have started doing that. And it's pretty controversial. The people, like a lot of truck people kind of hate that feature. And the reason why is because the people, like if you're driving through a canyon you have to have your lights on. So that means you're going to have to touch this, and you're going to have to make sure that your lights are on, forced on, not just auto on, because it could be bright in a canyon. And instead of having the automatic lights, or if you're on a ferry, they make you turn your lights on a ferry as well. So I can see a little bit of controversy there with having your lights on the screen rather than a hard, physical control over here. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is going to be the gear shift, because this is kind of a different gear shift than, again, we've seen on Honda vehicles. And this is the same gear shift you're going to see on the Blazer. And essentially what you have to do is you make sure your foot's on the brake, and then you pull it forward and you go up for reverse, you pull it forward and you go down for drive. And then if you want to put it in neutral, you just give it a long pull and hold it towards you. Then to put it into park, you just hit that button there. So, I mean, pretty straightforward, but there are some that you just like move the knob up and down, and you actually have to pull this forward and then move it up, pull it forward, and then move it down to get it into drive. So it's a little bit different. And, there are a lot of people that hate column shifters, but I don't know. It doesn't bother me. And it's just a gear shifter. It's just something you're going to have to get used to. And owners will, in fact, get used to it. So I did lie. There is one more thing I want to talk about before I close out this video, and it is going to be, I want to talk about the camera. So, and you can, I'm in park, and you can activate the camera by hitting this icon right here. And I know a lot of Honda vehicles don't have round view monitors, but again, this is going to be one of the benefits of being in a vehicle that is produced by General Motors. You get a lot of their technology. So you do have an around view camera in addition to the backup camera, and you can change angles on this camera as well. But I will say the clarity is a little bit, it's not as good. It's not as good as I've seen in some of the General Motors vehicles, but I do like the fact that you have the ability to, because it's not in drive, you can't, but the ability that you have to change the different views. And then obviously if you put it in reverse, it will put it, show you the backup camera, and then it does have the dynamic lines. And it's really funny because I was talking to my husband about how much I really like dynamic guidelines, especially when I'm like backing into my garage. And he said that he did not like dynamic guidelines. Well, if you're one of those people, you can turn them off. I don't know why you would be one of those people. I mean, my husband is weird, but yeah, you can turn them on and off. So I don't know if there's a reason that you don't like dynamic guidelines. Please enlighten me, because I don't understand. I've tried to ask my husband. He's just like, I don't like them. I'm like, well, that's not a good answer. All right. So that is just a quick look at the tech on the Honda Prologue. And I will point out this does not have Super Cruise on it. So that will be another difference between, Chevrolet vehicles and the Honda vehicle. So you don't have hands-free driving capability, but you do have adaptive cruise control, and it works pretty well on this vehicle. So you have some features which I find really interesting, including OnStar that they've carried over into the Honda, but then, they've added features like Apple CarPlay, and then they've taken away features like Super Cruise. So, I mean, the two vehicles are certainly different, but they're also same.
All right, that is just a really quick look at the Honda Prologue and some of the tech that is available on this vehicle. So, as I said, you have a lot of features that are shared with the Chevrolet Blazer, and then you have some things like Apple CarPlay that Honda decided to throw in that Chevrolet has taken out. So if you are looking at these two vehicles, this is definitely something that you're going to want to take a look at. What tech does this vehicle have versus that vehicle? And, is the tech that you have here better, worse than, livable, tolerable, as opposed to that vehicle? For me, if I were looking at these two vehicles and it was literally between these two vehicles, I would come to the Honda Prologue simply because of Apple CarPlay. Apple CarPlay, for me, is a deal breaker. So that is what I have for you in terms of a tech check on the Honda Prologue. I will see you next time with a new card is yours.